This video has been funded in part by the Guild via Patreon. Check out the links in the description or at the end of this video for more details. Hello everyone, my name is Chris Gildart and welcome back to another Pros vs. Cons review. One of my very first reviews ever was on the PS4 port of Dead or Alive 5 Last Round Core Fighters Complete Edition Alpha Plus Director's Cut, and I thought it would be great to go back to where it all started with the very first game. I was much more of a fighting game fan back in the day. I played loads of Tekken 2 and Bloody Roar, but I grew out of it as an adult. I did find a copy of the very first Dead or Alive game at a local pawn shop of all places, so let's throw it in and see what it's like with the first Pro. I was incredibly surprised when I put this game in because it looks really good. Like, I'd say it looks even more lifelike than the newer titles. I was also surprised that Tecmo went ahead and had real actors play the characters. Digitized graphics were starting to go away around this time, and they just went ahead with it. Even the environments look good. Also, there are tons of different stages, each with varying color palettes and styles. It's great to see because pretty well every fight you'll take part in will feel like a whole new experience. My favorite stage is the dark, rainy beach. Probably one of the most interesting to see when you use the slow-mo attacks. And this was back in the day when the arena was just a flat plane with a JPEG in the background, so I have to give the devs props for the work that they did on this. I'm seriously questioning how they were able to do this back in the day, but it almost looks like they've devolved with Dead or Alive 6. Maybe someday we'll be able to go back to this style of graphics because I feel incredibly immersed by the realism presented in this game. Con! There are some weird choices for actors, like Jamie Presley as Tina, Devon Aoki as Kasumi, and Brian White as Zack are really good choices. But then they have Natizia Malth, I hope I'm saying that right, as Ayane. It's one thing to have a white voice actor playing an Asian character. That's pretty common in gaming and anime. But having a white person play the body of an Asian character? Even digitized, this doesn't look good. And Sarah Carter's portrayal of Helena isn't what we're used to either. I haven't played Dead or Alive 2 or 3, so I don't know her character development, but she seems so far away from her usual sophisticated self. It feels more like a parody comedy from what we're used to. Ayane even uses a sword. I guess they kept that for Ninja Gaiden games only. I mean, it does seem unfair that no other fighters use weapons. Pro. You all know how busy I am. YouTube isn't my main job, so when I can finish a game quickly, that's exciting. This game is only about an hour and a half long, and it even promotes that on the back of the case. I was able to 100% this game in an evening before bed. I even like the volleyball minigame you unlock halfway through. You even have some behind the scenes with the actors and developers. This is always cool to see behind the curtain. Apparently the actors took months of training just to play digitized characters in a video game. Now that's dedication. Con! I know I play a lot of games like Dynasty Warriors, which are as complex as scrambled eggs, but this game's controls are incredibly simple. I've played a lot of Dead or Alive 4 and 5, and I've just started 6. I've also played loads of Tekken, so I'm pretty used to my fighters being complicated with loads of different combos to pull off. Even though the moves we see in Dead or Alive are flashy, and a lot of them use very cinematic angles, I only pressed one button. Literally. All I did was start the game from the main menu and I just beat it. An easy game is never a bad game, but this one is really bad. Pro. One really surprising thing about this game is how versatile it is. Not necessarily in its controls, but how you can play it. I played this on my Xbox One, which makes sense for its backwards compatibility, but I accidentally put the disc into my PS4 and it worked! This got me thinking, what other consoles does it work with? So I tried it on every disc-based console I own, and boy do I have some good news for you. I don't know how the developers got around the different hardware limitations, but this game works on every single Xbox console and every single PlayStation home console with the exception of the PS1. I did try this in my GameCube, Wii, and Wii U, but for some reason they just didn't work. It even worked in my PC, which is incredible. But everyone, just beware, it is still region locked. Con! Alright, I know this is an early game in the series, but man, the voice acting and the story is meh. The intro cinematic does a pretty good job of showing off the fighting style of all the main playable characters. It's super cheesy, but it's honestly the only part that feels sincere in the whole plot. Between every fight, we do get a little cutscene of the story, which is surprising to see because most fighters around this time were just arcade quarter munchers. But this is almost like I'm watching a movie. You know, a pretty mediocre movie, but it's really interesting to see them do this even before Dead or Alive 5 and 6. It's too bad a lot of the acting feels phoned in, like no one was getting paid enough. Well, it was back in the day when people on the dev team or friends and family would do most of the acting, so maybe that's what happened here. In the end, I didn't have a terrible time with the first Dead or Alive. It was a really weird experience considering it only took an hour and a half out of my day to complete, but that's not a bad thing. I don't mind short and sweet games. So in the end, Dead or Alive gets a 6 out of 10. It did a lot of interesting and innovative things for its time, having cutscenes in between fights and a pretty cohesive story to boot, not to mention all the cinematic special moves and realistic graphics. But we also have to weigh in the cheesy acting, lack of complex controls, and the fact that some of the characters are a far cry from what we know in modern DOA games. But I'd recommend it if you have nothing better to do. It's just too bad it's an older game and doesn't have trophies. I wouldn't mind playing this for an easy platinum. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review of the very first Dead or Alive. If you did, give the video a like and subscribe for more. Don't forget to ring that notification bell and follow me on my social media. My links are down in the description. If you'd like to help support the channel even further, you can join the Guild via Patreon, like these awesome people that you're seeing on screen right now. You can join them at the end of every single video for just $1 a month. And as always, thanks again for watching, and I will see you all down in the comments.